The twin suns of Xerithia cast their pale light over the capital city as Princess Kylira paced the marble floor of the palace chamber. Her limbs were tense, her violet eyes reflecting both the brilliance and the coldness of the alien architecture around her. The council's decree had arrived this morning. She was to be married to a human from the distant Sol system. Not for love, not for choice, but for alliance. Kylira had been trained to obey, to uphold her people's honor, but the thought of being handed over to a species she had never met filled her with dread. Humans were strange, she had been told. Unpredictable. Primitive. Some whispers even suggested they were cruel. She stopped at the balcony, staring down at the city's bustling streets, where flying vehicles traced lines of light between towers. How could anyone choose happiness in such circumstances? She let out a long sigh, her tail curling nervously. Meanwhile, on a small starship in orbit above Xerithia, Captain Daniel Ross prepared for his descent to the planet. He had been briefed. This would be an arranged marriage. A diplomatic alliance. And as a human, he was expected to handle this with decorum. But he hadn't expected the nervous tension that gripped him like a vice. He checked his armor for the last time. Not the full battle gear, this was a ceremonial first meeting, but protective enough in case Kylira's people decided to test him. He wasn't afraid. He had faced alien mercenaries, cosmic storms, and rogue AI. Yet the thought of meeting an alien princess under such delicate circumstances made his heart race in a way he hadn't anticipated. The palace gates opened as the human ambassador escort delivered Daniel to the royal chamber. Kylira's guards observed silently from a distance, their energy spears faintly humming. Daniel took a deep breath, stepping forward. His eyes met hers, and for the briefest moment, the universe seemed to pause. Kylira stiffened, instinctively retreating a step. Daniel noticed. He lowered his hands in a gesture of peace. "Princess Kylira, I am Daniel Ross. I mean no harm." Her voice was cold, clipped, and full of authority. "I know who you are, human. And I have been told enough about your kind to expect nothing good." Daniel tilted his head. "Then perhaps we should start with something small. Introductions. No expectations, no politics." Kylira's ears twitched, a subtle signal of curiosity, though she tried to hide it. "Very well. Speak then." Daniel smiled, a gentle warmth in his tone. "I like to cook. I read human history. And I like to listen." Kylira blinked. Listen. The concept seemed almost alien in itself. Most humans she had read about were loud, brash, or focused on conquest. This one seemed different. Over the next week, the interactions were tense. Kylira was wary, observing him from across the grand dining halls, measuring his every gesture. Daniel remained patient, never pushing, never assuming. He learned the language of her people, the subtle inflections, the unspoken cues. Slowly, Kylira began to notice things. He treated her opinions with respect, even in the council meetings where other humans might have overstepped. He laughed when she told stories of her childhood, and he never interrupted her even when she railed against the absurdity of the marriage. One evening, Daniel invited her to the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected off the crystal lakes, painting the paths in silver. Kylira hesitated but eventually walked beside him. "You seem different," she said softly, almost afraid to voice it. "Different how?" Daniel asked. "Kind," she replied. "Most humans are not. But you are. I don't understand it." Daniel chuckled lightly. "Maybe we're not all the same. Maybe it depends on the choices we make." Her tail brushed the edge of the fountain. "I've been told to fear you, to obey you. And yet, you make no demands. You speak with me as an equal, even though I am a princess and you, well, you are a human." Daniel looked at her earnestly. "Because treating you with respect is the only way I know to honor this bond. Whether or not it's forced, you deserve that." Kylira's eyes softened. For the first time, she felt something unfamiliar, the stirring of trust. Days turned into weeks, and the forced nature of the arrangement began to fade from her mind. Daniel never pressured her into affection or closeness, but he did small things that touched her deeply. He remembered her favorite music from Xerithian culture, he brought her fruits from his homeworld, and he even laughed at her sharp wit, which she had always used to intimidate others. One day, Kylira suffered a panic attack. The memories of her council's decree and the expectations of her people overwhelmed her. She felt trapped, powerless, and the walls of fear she had built around herself crumbled. Daniel found her in her chambers, pacing in distress. Without a word, he knelt, placing a hand over hers. "Kylira, you're not alone. I won't force you. But I will stand by you." She stared at him, shocked by the gentleness and patience he offered. Slowly, she sank to the floor beside him. For hours, they sat in silence. No words were needed. The presence of another being, willing to simply be there, was enough. When the marriage ceremony finally came, it was nothing like the rigid, cold affair Kylira had imagined. Daniel spoke softly as he held her hand, whispering reassurances that made her heart steady. When the priestess asked if she consented, Kylira looked into Daniel's eyes and, for the first time, smiled without fear. "I do," she said, her voice clear and firm. The crowd gasped, not at her words, but at the expression she wore, trust, and perhaps, the faintest glimmer of hope. In the months that followed, Kylira began to explore the human side of life. She walked among Daniel's people, learning of their customs, their laughter, their small acts of heroism and kindness. Each time, Daniel guided her, but never dominated. She realized that this marriage, once a chain imposed upon her, had transformed into something unexpected. Not love born of coercion, but a connection built on respect and patience. One night, as they sat atop the palace balcony, watching the twin suns set over the horizon, Kylira leaned against Daniel's shoulder. "I never believed I could feel safe," she murmured. Daniel wrapped an arm around her. "You were always strong. I just helped you see it in yourself." Her violet eyes shone with gratitude. Perhaps this forced marriage was not a curse, after all. Daniel chuckled softly. "Maybe it was just the universe nudging us toward the right choice." Kylira smiled, and for the first time, she did not feel like a pawn in a political game. She felt like a partner. A being capable of trust, affection, and a life that was truly her own. Years later, when Kylira's people looked back on that union, they remembered a princess who had been forced into an alien marriage but emerged stronger, wiser, and kinder. And Daniel. He remained the gentle human who had refused to see her as anything less than an equal, teaching her that kindness could break fear in ways diplomacy never could. In the quiet of their palace, they often reminisced about their first meeting, the fear, the tension, and the slow building of trust. Kylira sometimes laughed at her initial prejudice against humans, but the memory of Daniel's patience and compassion never faded.